Hey, welcome in. It's the Papa Drew's RV show. Yeah, we should be live right now, but I'm seeing that it's not. There we go. We're live. We're right now. We want to say welcome in, everybody that's here to join us. They'll come eventually, I hope. Right now, we have Tumbleweed Rvlife sitting in our basement. We're going to bring them up. We're going to introduce them right now. So I want to give everybody a warm welcome. If you have questions, go ahead and ask. Here we go. Hey, how you doing? How are you doing tonight?
We are awesome. Well, there's me of the we tonight. Tracy couldn't quite make it tonight. I'm not sure if she's going to show up. She said she's going to try, but some exciting things are happening tonight.
What is going on tonight?
I don't know. Did Tracy show up in the basement?
Nope, there's nobody down there.
She's trying. She said she tried, but
there's somebody in the basement now.
Okay, let's see.
There we go.
There she is.
Can I see?
Hello.
Hello.
So, Tracy, tell us the good news. Hi, Harper.
I'm grandma again.
Yay!
Amanda had her baby boy, 7 pounds, 4 ounces, and I'm babysitting.
Congratulations.
Yay. We're making popcorn and making everybody happy here.
That is so awesome. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you.
That's great. So while I have both of you, I am so excited to have you on the channel. I really am. You guys are an inspiration. It's just unique and really cool on what you're doing. You're traveling from Canada to a place in Mexico, and you have land there that you're developing and you're homesteading. And it's just super neat on how you're doing that. It's really cool. So you want to talk a little bit about what inspired you to go ahead and move and go from Canada, to give up what you had in Canada, drive across the United States, and actually start homesteading land in Mexico?
You wanna field that?
No, you go ahead. Since you're not going to be here long, you go ahead.
Well, I'm going to tell you my story really quick. In 2008, I went with my sister to Cabo San Lucas, and I was only there for 5 days the first time, and I fell in love with it, and that was it for me. I felt like I was home. The people are awesome. I met Manuel Estrada, and he showed me around Cabo, and it was awesome. Met his family. He became our son in Cabo, and I literally felt like maybe I was Mexican in a previous life.
Well, some of the things, like, we're real close to Mexico. We're probably 3 hours-ish, 3.5 hours from our condo to Mexico. And then when we camp down at Silver Strand State Beach in San Diego, we're literally a mile away from Mexico. So to go into Mexico for us is like super easy. Okay?
Oh man, I wish.
Yeah, it's just like, it's right there. So with that being said, we finally pulled the trigger. We haven't RV'd into Mexico. We really want to do that. That's kind of like on our bucket list, to go in. And actually, we want to RV into San Felipe with a bunch of people, and then take that convoy, if they want to continue on down into Cabo, and maybe some of us come back. And we'll talk about that here in a second. We're thinking about Easter time frame. But we have there's like so many questions about how to get a large group of RVs through the border. Easy. But let's start with you guys, because you did a whole progression on your channel. You documented it really well, from buying an F450, which you turned into an F550 ish.
Yeah.
And tell us a little bit about that. I mean, you went out and got this truck. It's like massive dually truck. And then you went shopping for fifth wheels, and you were looking at some bumper pulls, but mostly fifth wheels. And then truck campers came into play here. And then tell us about the progression on why you chose what you chose and the ideas behind it.
Honey, how are you doing?
I have to go.
You have to go. I thought so. So you can kind of hear the kids.
Do you hear the chaos?
I do. Two grandkids and 3 dogs. Actually, no, 5.
Pop,
4 dogs.
1 second. Papa Drew, you know what they say when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yes. Kids
That's
running
what's happening.
everywhere. Yeah.
Can you quickly show us the dogs before you sign off?
Yeah.
So we also have
They're
4
going
dogs.
a little crazy. Can you see them?
Oh wow. Let me I'm gonna fix my lighting real quick. I'll be right back.
There you go. There's Ducky.
Ducky, sit, Ducky, sit. There's Ducky.
There you go.
This is Pepita. You know Pepita. This is Amelia. And this is Maggie.
Uh-huh. And that was Cleo. Cleo, you can't see. Well, I got a whole camera set. I'll show her. She's great, and she's huge.
Yeah,
She's
not only do we have 4 dogs, but we got the 2 grandkids trying to watch I don't know if it's Little Mermaid or Hatchimals. I don't know what's going on over there.
So we got some questions.
And I'm trying to make popcorn.
Okay, hang on. Tracy's got to go.
Bye, Tracy.
I gotta go.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Yay.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
We have people in the chat right now. We got Brazen Brits. Thank you for stopping by. They just adopted a Doberman. And it doesn't bite, but it runs away.
But it runs away. You think it has husky in it.
And we have Camper Size Living. I haven't seen them forever. They're so cool. That's a really cool channel. Brazen Brits, Camper Size Living. If you haven't gone and made friends with them, go make friends with them. They are amazing channels. They're really cool. Weekend RVing. Good to see you in the house. And we have Van Life with Gina Page. She's always awesome. There you go. You're sweet. We have who else do we have in here? We have Butcher Street. I haven't seen them before. So how you doing? Welcome into the chat. And the Brazen Brits have a question. Now, the cool thing, I don't know if you've seen the Brazen Brits or not, but they are from across the pond in the awesome country of England, Europe, over there. And they have a question. Where in Canada did you guys move from, or where are you right now in Canada? And where in Mexico did you go to?
Okay, good questions. So presently, we still own our house in Regina, Saskatchewan. If you'd like, I could quickly bring up a map of that. But give me 1 sec. And in the winter, we have property in. In the winter, we have a property just north of Todos Santos, which is 1 hour north of Cabo San Lucas. Cabo San Lucas being on the point of the Baja Peninsula. So you can't go any further than Cabo San Lucas. After that, you fall into the water. So
Land's End.
I will. Land's End, yeah. So hang on here.
So while you're pulling that up, we started kind of getting into what made you take that the path from becoming being a full-time Canadian, which is great, to driving through the United States and becoming Mexican for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, working hard on it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a weird story. I mean, Tracy and I have been going to. So here we are. Here we are up here. So that's where we live. That's kind of our house. And what we do is we actually rent out that house. We started renting that out a couple of years ago. Didn't know why. This was even before we started the camper life. We were basically just. I went back to Alberta to. I had to go back to a job to organize myself to start up my business properly. And so we rented out the house. We went out there. We rented a room, which was strange because that caused us to downsize. So now we're living out of a big acreage house, the master bedroom. It was a huge bedroom, but all our stuff was in that room. We had our own TV, we had our own coffee pot. It had a sink and a counter. Had a walk-in closet for storage. It had a big dormer window in the front, and we actually fit a dining room table into that dormer. That's how big it was, and that was my office. And so we did that for a year, and it was in first few about within about 3 months of doing that, we were wondering, our life is boring. We love to travel. We love Cabo St. Lucas. 2 years before or a year before, we had bought these lots north of Todos Santos, raw land, actually just full of cacti, no power, no sewer, no water, no service at all. Dirt road into the site. So what I can do is I can kind of zoom into that. So let's go down Baja. Okay, and here's Cabo St. Lucas, right at the tip. Sorry, I've got a lot of pins there, but there's Cabo St. Lucas, right at the pin at the tip. So if you back up here, go back up north, Todos Santos, where Hotel California is, then our land is, keep going down the beach road, bingo, middle of nowhere. And there it is.
And
Our land is
you have one
our land-
structure on there. It looked like, which is kind of I don't know what do you call that?
Sorry, one what?
One structure kind of on your land. You built something.
Yeah, we built a water tower.
And an overhead hanging kind of gazebo looking thing.
Oh yeah, yes, a sunshade.
There you go.
I mean, palapa down there, but we didn't do it in kind of thatch. We just used fiberglass panels just to give us some shade.
Right.
And that was just kind of really a temporary thing. It's really just for the RV. We did open up some of the lot for a future palapa where we're thinking of a 2-story palapa.
Right.
So that we have somewhere like an outdoor kitchen underneath and kind of yoga area, an exercise area. And the upstairs would be more, sunset cocktail, kind of watch the world and kind of just watch the sunsets.
So to get back to why did you leave Canada, the land of frozen stuff, to the land of shorts and flip-flops? Or did I just answer your question?
No, yeah, well, kind of. The dream was kind of set in motion in 2014. In 2014, I kind of had a medical episode, that kind of shakes you up a bit, especially when I was mid 50s. And it kind of shook me up and said, geez, you're just keep going down the same road and, building other people's dreams. And what about your own? So I knew I personally had to make a change. And so when I got out of the hospital, and after 5 days, nothing serious, like everything was fine after, but the doctor gave me a prescription, and the prescription read, no driving for 30 days and no work for 30 days.
Yeah.
So, and this was right after I'd been down to Cabo St. Lucas for the first time, Mexico for the first time. I went down terrified because I didn't know about Mexico. I thought it was really dangerous, and you really had to watch yourself. But then right then and there, I decided to take 2 weeks and go back to Mexico on my own, just by myself. And at least I had kind of my son, our son Manuel, our son, and I hung out with him for 2 weeks. He worked in the cigar shop every day, like the kid worked like 6 days a week, 12, 14 hours. I just hung out with him in June, freaking hot. And that's when I kind of reevaluated. It's like I got to do something with my life. I got to change. So I decided to, when I got back, I incorporated a company. I almost gave my resignation where I was working, but it wasn't right. That was 2014. In 2016, finally, the economy changed up here, and I was without job. I sat down. My wife and I were sitting in our home office, and I turned to her, honey, it's like, should I look for a job or should I start my business now? And it's like, I need a sign. And the phone rings, and it's a buddy of mine who has a company, and he, he needed some help. He wanted me to go out on a pipeline job, which is kind of my area. And I said, well, there's the sign. I'm starting the company. That's it. So, the bank accounts were set, the credit card, corporate credit card, everything was done. Website, da da da. Da. So within a few months, my company was up and going, and it snowballed. And that was kind of one of the main pieces that we needed. I needed an income that
Right.
I could do on the road.
Right.
Now I do day rate. I day rated for this guy to get the company going, but it allowed me to get the engineering side of my company going, so that it's something that I can do from my laptop anywhere in the world, as long as I've got access to the internet.
And I find out most of the nomads out there, they're having jobs that are like that. Jobs that they can either log in with a laptop, or they can go to a place like an RV park and host and work and do work camping.
Yeah.
Which I find is a huge key to this nomad life. A little bit of income coming in goes a long way. It doesn't cost a lot to be on the road, but you do need a little bit coming in. And we'll talk more about that at Quartzsite. We have a lot of people that really know what they're talking about. They're going to join us at our meetup, and we'll touch on that towards the end. Now, on your videos, I like to, when I'm interviewing somebody, I'll go back and watch your old videos, not your new stuff necessarily, but your old stuff, because I want to see the progression of the true Tumbleweed RV life from when they first started out, or what they're showing when they first start, to where they are right now. You did a whole series on buying that F450 or that F550-ish, and we'll talk about that, how you kind of went through that progression, because there's something that's going to put some people to rest with something that you did that I saw in a video, and I want to bring that up. But
Sure.
talk about that F450, would you, for just a couple? Why did you choose that truck?
Well, the F350 and the F450 are very similar. It's basically the 450 has beefier brakes, a better turning radius because the front wheels are the stance is further out, so the wheels can actually turn more. And there was something else, brake suspension is pretty much, the brakes are beefier. The suspension is the same. Everything is the same. The gross vehicle weight is the same. However, the payload capacity is actually higher in the 350 because it doesn't have the beefy brakes and some beefy components. So it leaves more room for payload. It's the same gross vehicle capacity. So I thought that the bigger the number, the more the payload capacity went. And I really like the idea of having beefy brakes with such a heavy load on the back.
Right.
So we went with the 450. We didn't know if we wanted a truck camper or a fifth wheel. And we were more fifth wheel kind of truck camper because we were following this channel, this guy out of Vancouver Island. His name was Taylor Dasman. Now he's since packed up his channel. It's all still there. The whole progression is there. And we got inspired by his experience living in a truck camper. And it was really just him. So when we were looking at truck campers, we looked at the one that he had, and we didn't feel that didn't have enough room for us to live full time, two people, and working an office situation. So long story short, we went with the 450 thinking that buy the biggest truck,
Right.
and then it should
All
work
the big
for
stuff.
any RV will work at that point. So
Right. It's like dating large Russian women. You'd think they would keep you warm, but they don't. They just eat everything in your house. Just kidding. Please send all your hate mail to Tumbleweed RV.
Yeah, there you go. At gmail.com. So we knew we were going to buy something big, so we bought the biggest, baddest truck. turns
Right.
out it's going to be a preference thing. Uh, if somebody wants to be closer to legal on payload capacity, probably the 350 with the reinforced suspension will get you closer there, and maybe buy it as a chassis and build it up. But we're not concerned about it. We talked to the manufacturer who actually delivers their truck campers, and they have one on the truck, and they have another one behind on a trailer, and they use 450s to deliver them. They only use stable loads on the rear suspension to beef it up. They were able to recertify or re-register their trucks from 14,000 to 17,000 gross vehicle capacity.
Wow.
So 14,000 on the 450s and 350s is way underrated. Now, we are sitting at about 16,000, but we reinforced the suspension. 16,000. So we are heavy. Now we travel with full propane, full water.
Right.
Like we run full fresh drinking water in our fresh tank. So that's our drinking water. We don't have room in here to store water in our travels, and especially going down Mexico, we didn't know what to expect. So when we did our trial runs before we left, we did a few tours and video series like the great, what is it, the Prairies Road Trip Challenge, the Canadian Prairies Road Trip Challenge. It was a series of about 7 videos to prove that the Canadian prairies are not boring, because it's a joke in Canada that the prairies are flat, boring. It's like you could see your dog running away for 2 days. It's like the joke is. It's so flat. But the thing is, we did prove that there was a lot of interesting things to do. But anyways, in the trial run, full fresh tank and propane, it got really spongy in the back end.
Right.
Any little overpass or railway track, or it's like I had to keep looking. If there was a little overpass in the highway, I had to slow down, like to 50, from 65 to 50, because it would really bottom out. I could feel it hitting the overloads and the bumpers. It would go down right to the bumpers.
So when you were down in Mexico, there's like a few things that make people hesitant for driving into Mexico. One would be repairs. You broke a shackle on the back of your F450 or F550, and I don't know if that's after you put in the new leaf spring or before you put the new leaf spring, but you actually had the shackle go up through the bed of the truck. Now you have a little Mexican guy with a hammer, he's hitting it. That was awesome. That's how we used to fix stuff in the Marine Corps. We just beat the hell out of it, and if it got flat enough, we just put tape on it, called it a day. You actually had some extensive work to your truck in Mexico, and I think that really scares some people with RVs going in. Coming out of like Canada and the United States, the language barrier is easy. We can get stuff fixed. There's reputable shops. You can look things up. But going into Mexico, the language barrier is a little bit different, and I'm not sure how good Yelp is down there.
No, I mean, forget about all that. When you get into Baja, now you'll start to understand why we're heavy. We carry a lot of water. We carry tools. We carry spare parts. I was even thinking, we want to put a receiver in the front to carry something. Is it going to be bikes, a motorcycle, a toolbox, a spare tire, like a whole wheel, because we only have one spare tire. And I think the rim only works for the inside dually or something, like, it's like it doesn't replace, really, it just carries the tire. We would probably have to de-rim it to fix a flat, like if the tire was unrepairable. But anyways, you got to think ahead. We had, in the end, way more than we needed. Now, when it came to tools, we used all the tools that we brought, and they're heavy. They added weight to our travel. I was very worried about repairs, and I was even thinking of going with an extra wheel in the front, like having another spare in the front.
Right.
I mean, you see expedition vehicles going down there, and they're outfitted to the T, right? They have 2 spares and water jugs, strapped to the outside.
But I think
remember the old Rat Patrol?
no, yeah, I get the rat. That was awesome. Matter of fact, my dad Side note, get off topic, squirrel. My dad went to college in Notre Dame with one of the actors that was on Rat Patrol.
There you go.
So there you go. But anyway, what I think what scares people, and it kind of makes me a little bit nervous, is say you blow something in your engine, or you break a freaking drive belt or a drive shaft or an axle or something. Like, how do you know how to get that? Where do you go to get that fixed? And do you know that the repair is going to be like a good repair, or is it going to be, Tony down the street hitting it with a hammer? You see what I'm saying with this?
Yeah. I mean, now we're talking Baja. Baja's pretty sparse. Now there's different solutions. So there are the Blue Angels that cruise up and down the highways, and if you break down, they will come in and help you. They'll bring a tank of gas. They'll help you. They'll change a tire for you. They have some parts, and they will help you out. Now in an RV, a little bit more specialized. You may need to get towed. You may need to be put on a flatbed to one of the larger centers. However, things aren't that expensive in Mexico. It's like, you plan for the worst, but you know what? You hope for the best, and
Right.
you are going to get the best. Just make sure your RV is in good conditions. It's well maintained. The road, and that you feel comfortable driving down narrow, treacherous roads. That's what I would be more worried about than
Right.
the maintenance.
Well, we're going to caravan when we come down, and hopefully, you can guide us. When we come down from the United States in a big group of degenerate RVers, right, into Mexico, I'm not really worried about going into San Felipe because I think the roads are big enough. I know there's one checkpoint right there, and I'm not sure how the roads are going in from San Felipe down into Cabo, that back side, because we're coming in the Gulf side, not the Pacific side.
Highway 5, I think. Highway 5 to San Felipe. Great. All the way down to where it joins back up to 1.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
And then at that point, there's some good sections that are narrow. They're widening certain sections, but that's where it gets a little tougher. You get all kinds of terrain. You got flat, narrow road, kind of elevated off the grade, and they kind of fall off to mountainous stretchiness with a fall off, and where the white line, the edge, the outside edge white line, sometimes disappears.
Right.
down into the cliff, and so it gets a little hairy. The truckers, on the most part, are good about giving you some room. Like, they will move over as much as they can.
Right.
But if you're not a confident RV driver, I wouldn't recommend it. If you're not comfortable driving an RV in the best of time, going down the highway or secondary highways.
Right. But it is down into San Felipe, you're fine. I guarantee you the roads are going into San Felipe. And I think a lot of us are probably, that's to get comfortable going into Mexico, because we got to figure out how insurance is going to work. Some of the things from growing up in Southern California, the gas is a little bit different, or from what I remember as a kid going in there, we had strainers for the gas that you would put in your gas tap. And did they fix all that? Is that pretty good now?
Yeah, especially in northern and kind of Baja California, so north. It's fine. It's all low sulfur. It all comes out of Houston. Basically, it's all comes out of the U.S.
Okay.
There's no refineries, in northern Baja. In southern Baja, it comes in by ship, probably from Pemex refineries. I understand that it's low sulfur now. I was concerned about that I'd be polluting my engine.
That's right. Yeah.
But no problem. Like, there was no problem with that. Somebody told me, "Oh, no, it's all good now." So I didn't have any issues there. No worries there. I had more problems with rats in the engine compartment than I had with, I had no problems with diesel for the truck. Now, there's still things that you want to watch for. You don't want to fuel up within half an hour or as the truck is delivering fuel to the underground tanks. It's stirring up the tanks and all the particulate. You do not want to fuel. You have to be diligent at looking at the guy fueling, that he's not messing with the final amount. They can tweak the final amount in the pump. There's the switcheroo, the 500 for a 50 because they're the same color. So there's certain things you have to be kind of self-aware. You got to be aware of your surroundings in those situations. But you know, I wouldn't worry too much about the breakdowns.
Okay.
Mexicans are very enterprising.
They're
They
very
can,
helpful. So the thing is, like, when I noticed when I went into Rosarito or Ensenada, because I've done the Ensenada race, the sailboat race, I've done that, I don't know how many, 5, 6 times, the 100-mile sailboat race from Newport to Ensenada. They're very, very, very accommodating to tourists that are coming in because they want their dollars. They want your money, so they're really going to bend over backwards and try and help you out. We just recently, which makes me kind of like question, we had a firefighter go from the States into Rosarita. I don't know if you heard the story, but he has a condo down there, and he got kidnapped, and they ransacked his condo, and they're still looking for the firefighter and stuff. So that just happened within days of
that's mainland, right? Mainland
no, that's
Mexico.
in Baja. Rosarita's in Baja. It's on the Pacific side, coming right out of San Diego, about maybe an hour, 2 hours away. I have a video of me going into.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't recommend people going through Tijuana and that corridor between Tijuana and Ensenada. I would recommend going through Tecate and then down to Ensenada. That's that's wine country. That's beautiful. But Tijuana is more industrial. It's I think it's a little sketchy. The further you go south in Baja, the better it gets. There's no doubt. The first few towns like Ensenada, you'd be surprised. It's beautiful. It's a nice bay, but it's also very industrial.
Right.
And the next few, until you get about central Baja, then it gets a lot more agricultural and rural. And the people are sweet and nice, and so again, I wouldn't go through Tijuana and spend much time there.
Right. We drove through Tijuana right to Rosarita. I didn't want to, but again, this all happened in Rosarita. We stay on the main drags when we go. We have friends that are actually school teachers in Rosarita, and they moved over from the UK into Rosarita. So if anybody's going down there, let me know, and I can get you free camel rides and rides on the beaches and fishing and all that good stuff. So let me know about that. I'll hook you up.
Hey, do you need some activities, man?
Yeah, tons of activities. So that's part of it. And I know there's a bunch like Camper Size Living wants to go in. I think that there's a couple more that are maybe lurking in the background that want to go into Mexico. So they're very curious on how all of this works and the safety aspect of it. And then the power pedestals are different than here. They're not. The power is not necessarily stable, from what I'm seeing and hearing. I don't know. You know more than I do.
Yeah, electrical works pretty shoddy. I've seen a 30 amp service, which it had a 30 amp connector, but it wasn't a 30 amp service. So you definitely want to have your basically your voltage tester, surge protector, that you plug in first and see if that everything's wired correctly before you plug in your RV. Absolutely, more so than anywhere else. You want to do that. Make sure you have your adapter to go right to a 15 amp normal receptacle plug-in, like house plug-in. Get it all the way down to that. If you have 50 amp service, maybe in the more reputable campgrounds, like the nicer ones further south, sure, you'd probably be better getting power there. But in the smaller stop along the beach, along the highway, where really it's supposed to be boondocking, there's no services, but somebody comes around and asks for 100 peso every night. Somebody's owns the rights to collect money on that beach.
Right.
But it's worthwhile because they come around. They keep the beach clean, and they
Look
deal
out.
with the garbage. They empty the garbage pails and they clean. if you want, sometimes call them bathrooms, but they're kind of okay. But
The thing about I when I go into Mexico, I love how everything is the feel. You get that feel in certain parts of Mexico that are just really rustic and just really cool. It's like your video when you first discovered the Hotel California, which they're all over the place, but it was neat. You're like, hey, is this a hotel? And you're like, yeah, it's open 24 hours. And it was your first time going into the hotel. And then you were looking at your wife going, hey, let's have breakfast. And it was $13 for your breakfast. And you're like, these are tourist prices. And I giggled and chuckled because $13 for breakfast in Southern California is a good deal. But in Mexico, apparently that's tourist pricing.
no. You got to remember, for us, $13 USD is like $20 for breakfast, $20 for eggs. No, thank you. We got eggs at the camper, you know. But
Right.
no, I mean in Cabo at John's place, you can get breakfast for $6.50. We did another recent video, you know, going to Cabo and having, you know, with Manuel and his land. But we
Right.
went for breakfast first at John's, and you know, three breakfasts and juice and, you know, coffee, and it was $28, you know, for three people.
Right.
That's a reasonable breakfast.
That's yeah. It was just funny when you went in to the Hotel California and your wife was, oh, Eggs Benedict, it's one of my favorites, and you're like, $13. This is a tourist trap. No, we're not doing that. And I kind of giggled to myself because out here
Yeah,
that's a good price.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
funny. And then you picked an Eagle 1200 for your camper, and you take that down on your F450 or with the new Leaf Springs, the F550. Um,
But,
Go ahead.
well, it's, you know, it's not technically, you know, a 550. It's almost equivalent to the
Well, I don't know.
550.
A four
It's
and a
it's
half.
it's still. I mean, the 550 has a gross vehicle weight rating of, I believe, 15.8, 15.5, 15.8. The 450 is 14,000. So we added two leaves to the rear, you know, leaf set in the back suspension. And
Right.
when I look at mine and I look at a 550, it's the same leaf set, same leaf pack.
Right.
So somebody educated me that no, the axles aren't the same. So the axle is the next weak point. The tires have more than enough capacity. The leaves have more than enough capacity. So now our weakest link is the axle. We're still good per axle. So when I look, we're getting borderline, but you know, per axle, when you start really drilling it down to each tire, each axle, each spring set, we're good. Individually, we're still good. That's why they say the truck is way underrated. But when you think about it, you know, you're taking a 5,000 pound camper and put it in the box of a truck.
Right. And that brings me to the next question. The road down to your property. So everybody in the chat, they went and bought property in Mexico, which is freaking cool, right? But that's a whole complete topic unto itself. But my question is, when you're going down, the roads in Mexico aren't necessarily all paved, everybody. They're dirt roads, and some of them where they go are sandy roads. So you have this huge truck camper on the back of your big dually, and I know it's a 4x4, but that would make me nervous. Would you ever consider pulling like a fifth wheel down there? And here's the other thing I noticed in one of your videos. You had a barbecue that you had stuck in the bushes,
Yeah.
and you were surprised when you came back that it was still stuck in the bushes. Would you ever bring a fifth wheel down there in those unpaved sandy roads and try and haul it into your property and leave it there?
Well, our property would be a little tight to bring in, but yeah, I mean, if you have property down there, there's lots of fifth wheels down there. Now, around around Christmas and January, there are some beaches that you can boondock near our place between Todos Santos and our property, very close to Todos Santos. And there was a lot of people there in the winter. And there was a lot, like there were at one point, out of 20 units that were out on that beach, there was about 3 to 5 big fifth wheels. So people do bring them down there. Um, Again, I would want to be an experienced driver that you feel confident driving a big unit like that. Um, you probably want to obviously you need to know more in advance where you're going to be going to the next day. Where's your next stop?
Right.
You know, maybe you want to go down in a camper first or in a Class B in a van and kind of explore and get to know the layout of the land. If you want to go down right off the get-go or right off the bat, you want to go down with your fifth wheel, then a caravan, probably going down in a group with somebody that is experienced and knows where to stop with those big units, and knows where all the campgrounds are, would probably be a better experience for you. Now, we've also met a lady on our way back home. So we were heading back at the end of March. We were told by the Canadian government, Canadians, come home, come home. So we started going back home. We stopped in La Paz at the Walmart for supplies, and we met this lady that says, "Yeah, I'm going home too. I'm taking the ferry. I'm taking a boat, and my trailer is being put on the boat. I drove it down here, but there's no way I'm driving it back up Baja." Like she was terrified. She had post-traumatic stress driving down
Oh, jeez.
because she was not experienced. It was her first experience, pulling a trailer. Like she was new at truck, pulling a trailer, and the RV life and Baja all at once. And so she loved the experience, except the driving she found very difficult, getting across like central Baja and getting down into the southern part.
Yeah. That would freak me out. And a lot of people see that's kind of what I think where we're going to start off with is going to be fine. But I'm just curious about your property down there, because maybe someday I want to buy some property down there and I want to leave instead of driving stuff back and forth. I see a lot of people buy or they build little houses like your friend. That 2-story house overlooking the ocean is absolutely gorgeous with the swimming pool and the chickens and the turkeys. It's kind of like the Brazen Brits farm, but more festive and in Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, leaving stuff down there is kind of
year round might be something to do.
So our neighbor had a worker there. He was building a second house, and the worker lived there. So he was security, and he was construction, and he was tending to the animals and all that. So then the worker was laid off, and a gentleman that owns kind of the compound, or what I call the little hamlet on the way out. It's a family, a large family, and they all have their different campers and RVs and houses, and they all live. I call it the compound. So that one of the gentlemen there, one of the family members would come up and water and feed his animals.
Okay.
And so in that in between period that the worker left and he took over, that's when we went and took care of them, in the interim until alternatives got put in place. So you can't just leave stuff on your property, even if you have, good security and all that, unless you're within other people and there's other people there to look out for your place as there's a presence. So if it's out in the middle of nowhere, you cannot leave anything. Now we left our palapa, we left the bell, nice bell, right?
Yeah, it's still there.
We left it there. We left it, but it's kind of behind the post, so you don't really see it from the street, right, from the road.
I saw you
we left
the wood.
We left some tools and some things kind of buried in the bushes.
Right.
But more importantly is that we left our water tank or water tower tank on the tower and hooked up to the piping. And that's because I was just lazy. When I did the piping, I forgot to put a union to be able to break off the tank from the main piping. So I just said I didn't want to cut it off and deal with it. I just said I left water in it for weight. I left it there, and let's see what happens. It was like, let's see how people are. Are they going to come? And I'm expecting, to tell you the truth, that it won't be there. The tank will be gone, and maybe they'll have cut off all the valves, or
from your videos, you can see down the beach. You can see a resort. The beach is breathtaking, by the way. But down the beach, it looks like to the right as you're facing the ocean. It may be backwards for the camera, but it looks like there's a resort over there. It doesn't look like there's a lot around you. It looks like it's very sparse around you, that there's not a lot of people.
It's not a resort. It's just an oasis. It just looks like there's something there. There is the odd. There's getting to be more now, but it's very, very dispersed. Even in our subdivision, our realtor is at the top of the hill. She's building kind of a big compound at the top. She's been doing that for 2.5 years. She still lives in Cabo. She doesn't live on site yet. Then our neighbor from Toronto, he's built the first one. It's not even finished. It's just kind of the structure is finished. It's boarded up and it's painted. It looks
Right.
beautiful from the outside, but there's nothing on the inside. Um, then there's us. That's got nothing there. And then you kind of look around and like, okay, about 2 miles that way, there's somebody, and 2 miles that way, 3 miles that way. And on the road coming in, there's a little bit more density there. It's more farms along the way, and then just before our place, uh, you have 3 properties in a row, and then you have farmland, and then the compound, and then another long stretch of nothing, and then us. So there's really nobody out there. So, but however, the guy that's feeding the chickens now, he basically indicated that his daughter has storage on their land there. So the daughter lives there too, and she's got storage lockers that if we want to, we could leave an ATV there. We could leave our tank, we could leave our tools. Bikes, car, whatever. If we wanted to leave that all local, we could leave it there. So if you are going to buy land in Mexico and you don't want to be hauling things back and forth, and if you're going to spend some time down there, then you'll have plenty of time to find storage to leave your stuff there. You don't want to be hauling stuff back and forth.
Yeah. And Scott, you didn't have to, but you did. Thank you for the super chat, brother. I appreciate that, man. Much love. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I mean, it's just cool. And what I like about your videos too is you go into some of the places that are not tourists. And that's what I dig. I like to go where there's not the tourist traps, where it's real authentic. Like you got the tortillas the one day, your wife did, and you're like, we're going to the beach and we're going to have some breakfast. And these are homemade fresh tortillas, corn. And she was smelling the package. And then you had the exciting dog parade.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I remember that one. Yeah.
I do watch your videos.
Yeah. I remember that one. Yeah. It's like, oh, look, there's a dog crossing. All of a sudden, they just showed up. I remember that. That's La Ribera. So it's near Las Barriles, which is really the Canadian and American compounds. There's a campground there. There's a lot of rentals. It's more resorty type. So more like condos on the beach. How's that? So it's more the kind of North American experience, kind of Canadian North American type resort experience, but Mexican style. La Ribera is the Mexican town just before it. And Manuel's family is still there. So there's family there. And it's got an amazing beach. And that's where all the kite surfing competitions are done because it's always fairly windy. There's a good chance of getting wind there. But the beach is awesome. And so we like going there. It's a small town. We know which convenience store, to get stuff at. We know where the tortilla shop is. And so we like that type of atmosphere. We have no problem going to, little towns, restaurants. You just got to be careful what you order. Kind of make sure the kitchen isn't too sketchy, because you don't want to get sick. But really, we've never really been sick. I mean, I think things are a lot better than they used to be. I think there's a little bit more kind of knowledge in terms of running a cantina or running a restaurant. Because I mean, if you're making people sick, they're not going to keep coming.
Right, and it'll get back to the tourists, and they won't come there because again, it's all for the dollars. I tell you what, everybody in Mexico, if you ever wanted to model over like a hospitality kind of stuff, Mexico is perfect because the Mexican people down there are just absolutely bend over backwards to make sure that you are happy and taken care of, and they honestly want you down there and shopping. Yeah. So you don't, unless you're out being really stupid at Cabo Wabo or the Giggling Marlin or doing something dumb down in Cabo and you're somewhere where you shouldn't be, you're not really going to have a problem down there If you're just a cool person that walks down the street, has a couple cervezas and maybe some street tacos, you're not going to have a problem. And the other thing too is they have different price levels for stuff. They have the tourist gringo price. They have the you're kind of a resident here, and then they have the Mexican price for stuff. Am I correct on that? Like if you wanted some of the stuff done for your land and things, they have different price levels. So
Yeah. So you've got the tourist trap price.
right.
You've got the gringo, but you're kind of local gringo. You've been around. I've seen you around. I know you're from around here now. And then you have the Mexican to Mexican price.
Right. Right.
So
I mean, even the gringo price is pretty good, and some of the fun stuff is haggling down there. You can really haggle with people as long as you're respectful and stuff, and have a good time with that. And they got to remember they got to make a little bit of money too. So
yeah.
You
So,
can have
and there's some things that are precious, like water. There's no haggling for water. You bring out a water truck, they give you the price, which is probably around 100 to 150 USD to get a water truck out, and that's 10,000 liters. So I think about 3,000 gallons, somewhere around there. Your standard water truck, and it doesn't matter if you take 1 gallon or you take all 3,000. It's $150. So there's certain things like that. Water is precious. You're not going to get a deal on water. Building material. What you see in when it's in a store, it's basically a genuine store. There's no real haggling. Contractor pricing, because there's a lot of people that say they're a contractor. Yeah, maybe the brother gets maybe a preferential rate.
Right.
So, but it's more the shops and the trinkets and.
Right, you're not going to walk into Walmart and haggle. So
no.
if you're going to walk into Walmart and haggle over a trash can, no, that's the wrong store.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it's I love going into Mexico. I really do. I love staying at the hotels and stuff. I've always been treated super nice and had such a fun time. And we're looking forward to maybe teaming up with you and having 10, 15, maybe 20 YouTube RVs going into Mexico. We're talking a pretty big caravan. So basically picking quartzsite up and putting it in San Felipe.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting time because that's high season in San Felipe too. So, and it's hard to do any planning right now because we don't know what's going to happen if the Mexican border is going to be open to us. So it's going to be tough. So our plan is that if they do open the borders, and we may get a dispensation, having land in Mexico, I kind of heard a rumor that they will allow that as being kind of essential travel. Like it won't be considered not essential travel. It's a little bit when you're trying to come home from Mexico. They're going to always let you cross the border back home. So us owning land there is kind of home. So they will let us go home. That's great. As soon as we can find our deeds, to prove that we have land in Mexico. When you pack everything in boxes, I remember I put those deeds in a safe place.
So I have good friends, Living Light RV, Kent and Lisa. They're super amazing Canadian. They're just so awesome. They have a small problem with being Canadian and coming into the United States that they can only be here for so long. Then they have to go back to Canada. Do you find that problem being Canadian and going into Mexico? Is that the same deal as the United States, or is that a different deal, or how's that work?
Well, there's a couple of things there. There's two things that limit them. There's the time that Canadians can spend in the U.S., and there's a new formula now. You can only be there 6 months, like 180 days. But they also look at it, you can only be there, and they go back 3 years, and there's a formula, which means the more time you spend there, the less time you can spend there. So, and Kent and Lisa only go to the U.S. However, we only go through the U.S. and we sightsee along the way down, then we go to Mexico. So we have 180 days in the U.S. and then we have 180 days in Mexico, and it's not that hard to get another 180 days there and getting your tourist card renewed. And nobody looks at your tourist card. You don't have to show it on the way back out. So I wouldn't worry about Mexico in terms of once you're in Mexico, it's fine. So the second thing that causes Canadians to go back home is their health care. So certain places you can be away from your home province for 6 months. Our province here in Saskatchewan is 7 months, and we really don't care about that because they probably don't even know you're gone. Which because we're gone out of our province, we're traveling Canada. We're only here 2-3 months of the year. We've never lost our health care. But if you do, you only have to reapply. You'll be right back on in 3 months. So it's not like you lose it forever. So when we were down in Mexico and saying, damn, I don't want to go back in 6 months. Like, I really don't want to do that for healthcare. We just didn't care.
We just take off, eh? You're a hoser.
No, we'll
Right.
just stay down. We'll just stay down there.
Hey, Jerry Holly just joined us. He's been following me all day. Jerry wants to play fireman with me. I keep telling him no. My bathing suit covers that area. Did you ever hook up with Aaron? Or are you guys all parking RVs or whatever? Type in the chat, let us know. So that's always a concern for Kent and Lisa is because they come into to the United States and then they got to beat feet back into Canada so they don't lose their health care and all that stuff. I would like to kidnap them and take them into Mexico with us because I think that would be fun to go into Mexico with Canadians, Americans, and maybe the brazen Brits would come and we could have Europeans and kind of have just a melting pot of degenerate RVers that go into Mexico together because that would be fun, people. We could have fun in Mexico. We could all get those chimeneas and do marshmallows. That would be awesome.
I'm trying to remember, and I think from the travel clubs you can get insurance by the day,
right?
And then I think it's 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and a year.
It's expensive though, isn't it? For like 6 months.
6 months for us because these were new rigs, right? It's a new truck and camper, so we insured the truck for like 55 grand and the camper for like 50 grand. And talking Canadian dollars, I think our first year was 1,200 US. But then it came up in May and we were staying beyond May 1st. Our insurance was expiring. So I figured, well, we're going to be right back in October. So I renewed for a year and that was $1,800. It's more than my insurance here in Canada for the truck and camper.
I think I pay maybe $400 or $500 a year for insurance on my rig, and that's full coverage.
Oh yeah, you have a Class C. Right?
I have a Class C. I have a big 33-foot Class C, and I think I pay like $400 a year. I mean, I got it pretty cheap. And just on a side note, real quick, I'm glad that Aaron and Pause in Effect and Jerry Holly are all together. I don't know what they're doing, and I'm afraid to ask, but I'm glad that they're all in the same RV together. I don't know what a bunch of guys in the same RV are doing together, but there we go. So yeah, it's are you expecting anyone else, Jerry Holly? Linda's asking. Whoever else wants to join Jerry Holly, please go over to the RV park. His door's open. He's in site 105. Ask for Aaron.
What I did,
huh?
Just to close on the insurance, what I did find out now is that if we decide to leave the camper and RV here and fly down, then we can park our insurance. So the premiums drop way down, and all that's left is theft and glass and a break-in and fire. So that would drop the premium. So I imagine I could do the same thing when we cross into Mexico. I don't need my Canadian insurance, except it is recommended that you keep your glass and your theft and all that. You keep so you can still park your premium and reduce the Canadian side. So it makes sense for us then 6 months here, 6 months there. And I think we can manage that insurance that it'll just be a little bit more, maybe 30% more than if we just stay in Canada and pay annually. So there is ways to manage that cost, but it was crazy last year. Like,
yeah. So for us going in part-time, just for goofing around for, I don't know, like a week to 3 weeks, whatever people are going to do. I think I'm going to take a week. We're planning this maybe over Easter. So stand by and we'll make more shirts. But just for like a week or like to 3 weeks or whatever, what would you recommend for insurance for the rigs?
Well, you can get insurance online, like by the day for the number of days that you go down there. Um, you know, I don't know how what it is per day, but it really depends on the value of your rigs, and tow vehicle, and if you have ATVs and all. You need to insure everything because anything can happen. We had a friend in La Ribera, that little town with the dog parade. Uh, the year before, he didn't insure his ATV. He didn't renew it because he left it. He has a house there, and he was going down the road and he hit a car and went flying. And of course, that's it. Gringo hits a Mexican, Mexican's going to win in court. So he didn't have insurance. He paid dearly for that. So you want to insure also your ATV and boat, because something can happen. So it depends on the value that you're insuring. So it's going to be different for everybody. We have our Wednesday night chat that we talk about Travel Baja, and we talk really around Discover Baja Travel Club, and we kind of go through their website, and we did that last time, and really just go get a quote, go do the online quote thing, and just go through the form and see how much it's going to cost and what your options. If you decide to start staying 2 or 3 months, you might want to get the 3-month policy. If you're only going for a couple of weeks, get it by the day for 2 weeks.
Right. Okay. And then if
And
you
then,
have
and the neat part, if you decide to stay longer, you just go back on site. All the information's there. It's one button to renew and decide how much longer you want to renew. It's easy at that point.
it's easy. Okay. And then pets. I heard pets are pretty easy to get across the border. Like Great Danes, you just stick them in a cargo container, like in the Millennium Falcon. No, I'm just kidding. That's a Star
I
Wars.
mean, you guys have your dogs with you. You're allowed up to 3 dogs, 3 animals, I think. Up to 3 animals. You're supposed to have vet certificates that they've been seen in the last 30 days, that they were healthy, all their shots are up to date, whatever that is. The Mexican website, Border Cross Borders website, has that pretty clear. It's up front. It's easy to find information. Sometimes it's easy to interpret because it was translated from Spanish, and it doesn't always translate well in English. But you know what? You kind of need to do that. Did they check for the paperwork and look at the dogs? No. I don't know anybody that's been asked for their paperwork.
Well, now you have to go through a military checkpoint to get from San Diego into San Felipe. There is one military checkpoint that on Highway 5 that you have to go through, and they will come in your rig and they will search everything in your rig. And I don't know what they're looking for, but okay, come on aboard. Do what you got to knock yourself out.
See, we have to open our slides to even get into our camper. So typically what I do is I only open the slides halfway just for enough for them to shimmy in there. They never asked to look under the bed. They didn't even open the fridge. They kind of just looked around. It's like, oh, okay, that's good. The military checkpoints aren't that bad unless you look sketchy or you look nervous or,
Or there's 20 of us all RVing down together.
I don't know. I haven't done it. Like, we were single travelers and we never had a problem. Sometimes they didn't even go in. Like, we have to go through 7 checkpoints to go down to our land. And about half of them was ask the questions. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? And no, you're free to go. I think they went in twice on the way down and twice on the way back. And when they go in, they just kind of look around. We have a dash cam when you come in, and there's a sign here. We'll show you the sign.
Yeah, it says, "I saw that smile. You're on camera." Right in the middle of the RV on the side of your bathroom. Yeah.
And then you see the dash cam by the air conditioner.
Right.
So, I think that's a pretty big deterrent. They kind of come in and say, "Yeah, okay, that we're good. We're out of here."
One question I'm not going to ask you is, why in the hell are you recording inside there? That's not for me to know.
It's just up there. It just runs all the time.
No, sorry.
We forget about it. So, but
yeah, I mean, it's going to be really neat to get us all down there. And you had some really good advice by don't drive in Mexico at night. You want to do your driving during the day and parking at night. You don't need to be out on the roads. That's when the bad things happen. And I agree with that, especially even walking around at night. When I'm down in Mexico, we don't walk around at night. We'll go and walk around during the day, and we'll stay where all the out in the. We don't walk down the back alleys. We don't do any of that stuff. I stay out on the main roads and where everybody kind of is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It just seems a little safer doing that. Not that I'm saying it's Mexico sketchy or anything, but you just kind of want to do some common sense, and you want to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah, especially at night, you got to take a few more precautions. Now, we spent a lot of time in Cabo San Lucas, downtown Cabo, party town, and we got quite comfortable. We kind of knew everybody. We knew all the shop owners. We had friends down there, and we were pretty confident going off strip. And we were renting more further and further away from downtown, so we were going more and more into the Mexican district. So we're confident about that. But when I first went down there, I was terrified. I was always looking, holding my wallet. It's like securing my phone and just totally paranoid.
Money's in your shoe. Like they'll never figure that one out, right?
Yeah,
Hey,
well, I have money.
I
got money in my belt. I actually, which I bought in Tijuana, by the way. Beautiful leather belt with a zipper behind it. Yeah.
They'll never figure this out. I'll fool them.
For me, the money belt is more as a backup. If I ever run out of cash in my pocket, and I got to pay for something, that I got a backup supply.
Tracy's in the chat. I don't know if you're reading it, but she must have the kids to bed. So do you want to? We have people in here now. We have 10 people watching. Kent and Lisa have joined us from the Great White North. Awesome, eh? And do you want to say your news? What happened with you tonight?
Right. Well, Tracy, do you want to come back on? You saw the link in Messenger. So see if the kids are in bed. It's 8:30. They should be down by now. But Kent and Lisa, which was waiting with anticipation, Wyatt arrived in the world tonight at 5:37, 7 pounds 4 ounces, and Mama and baby are doing wonderful. So we're very pleased. Can't wait to meet Wyatt. So it was kind of funny because Amanda last night basically said, this baby's ready. Like he can come now. Like tomorrow would be good. And she said she had a conversation with Wyatt this morning. It's like, okay, it's okay. You can come today. And like she went to her doctor's appointment and he says, you got high blood pressure. I think you should go straight to the hospital. So things progressed all day. And finally, they tried to induce, and then there was complications with that. So basically 5 o'clock, she went in for a C-section, and 5:37, Wyatt was born.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That is so great. Okay, so we're running a little bit late. I want to actually have you back onto the show. Did people learn anything today? Did we help anybody out? I know I was like, I have a million more questions, but let them get and do their thing.
Well, yeah, we should have each other kind of back and forth because I think we both have an interest of traveling south, down Baja.
I would love to.
We were terrified to do it. We did it. We faced our fears, and we did it. So we're happy to share our knowledge. We're happy to even convoy down. We have no problem with that. Hopefully the border's open. We have our Wednesday night chat, which is really centered around traveling Baja and living in Baja and owning land in Baja, anything Baja. And we let the chat basically decide what direction. We have some stuff ready, but if the chat has other questions, we go for the questions. So we have the Wednesday night chat. Papa Drew, what's your schedule for chat?
I get off work at 5, and by the time I get home from where I work to down here at the beach, I live on the beach. I got to take the dog out for a walk, so it's about 6:30 is when I'm really free and like I can get on the air with you.
6:30 Pacific.
6:30 Pacific, and I'm all yours.
So 7:30 Mountain, 9:30 Eastern.
Right. It's late for them on the East Coast. Now, can you do me one favor when you guys come down into Quartzsite and stuff? Since you have the secret land in Mexico, can you just take Living Light RV and like throw them in the front of the trailer in the front of your rig, and then just close the slides. Kent's not that big. He's pretty skinny. He won't take up that much room. And at the skylight, you can just throw in like Reese's peanut butter cups. He likes that.
Well, I hope they like the roller coaster ride, because the cab over in front, okay, it's the bounciest part. So when you say in front, they're going to be in the bedroom, and that's the one that bounces. We've had a suitcase underneath the skylight, we forgot to open the screen, the paper screen, and it was all dented into the skylight window. It's like, oh my God, it didn't rip. We were able to kind of put the folds all back in, but yeah, it gets pretty jumpy in the front, but sure, they're welcome.
Awesome. So I'm losing light over here. Why don't you go ahead, and I'm going to stand up and turn on some lighting so people can see. Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about your channel and do your thing, and I'm going to be right back. So I am going to give, how do I give you center stage here? Nope, that's me. That didn't work out well, but I look good. No.
Just take yourself off.
Oh, that's right.
Just take yourself. There you go. All right. So I'm Christian. Tracy's not here tonight because Wyatt arrived into the world. So she's watching the other grandbabies while the parents are at the hospital. So we were Tumbleweed Rvlife in 2018. We had a dream just to say we were bored. We were looking at retirement, and retirement looked kind of boring. We were debt free and decided that it was too boring. So we decided to roll the dice. We watched YouTube channels. We found the RV community, and we decided to embrace this lifestyle. We went with an F450 truck with EvoCat 1200, the biggest truck camper made, and decided to go full time in our truck and truck camper, and we travel between Canada and Mexico. We hit the road full time last May, so May 2019. We've documented our entire journey from making the decision to say, other YouTubers are doing it, so we can't be crazy to do it, to right now being back in Canada after going down to Baja and back and documenting that entire experience. We went down and followed and hugged the West Coast from Washington, Oregon, California, all the way to San Diego, and then across the border to Tecate. And we actually went the western route into Ensenada and went down the west side, all the way down to Cabo San Lucas. It was a 5-week journey. We spent a month in Cabo getting our land ready to receive our campers so that we could boondock there. And we ended up boondocking January, February, March, April, all the way into early May, first week of May. We had to race back because of the nice Coronavirus. We could not stop and sightsee as we planned. We came back in 6 days. Cabo San Lucas to central Canada or western Canada. A trip that took us 5 weeks to go down, we did that. We came back in 6 days. So we're now back in Canada. We're catching up on all our video content. We're still making videos. Right now we're editing content from March. There's still some great videos to come. In terms of development of our land and sightseeing and heritage home tour in Todos Santos. Lots of great stuff coming. And we're looking forward to hitting the road again in November. Papa Drew is back.
All right. Well, I got a little bit of light going. We paid the electricity bill, and California let us have light. So that's amazing. Hey, if you haven't checked out, please stop over to Amazon and check out Ranger Rob Poopy Bags. They're Great Dane tested, Great Dane approved, and they come with a lemon scent. Ranger Rob Poopy Bags at your Amazon store near you. Go get you some. They make great stocking stuffers. Other than that, and I don't get paid for doing that. Ranger Rob's just a really nice guy, and he sent me some poopy bags one time for the Great Dane, and they worked out because they have handles. And we actually liked them. We ran out. Rob sent me more poopy bags. But I want to do this again and have you back on. And it's just a pleasure having you. You've been a great person to interview. Thank you very much. And I'd like to thank everybody that's tuned in tonight. and ask questions, and we tried to get to them as best I can. I know I'm really bad at doing that, and I do apologize. We did have the Voitastic voicemail set up, and you could have called in at any time you wanted to. We should have brought that up during the beginning of the show. And I just want to say thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Cleo has swim class on Saturday. This time I'm going to film it. We're going to put the drone up. I'm going to zoom in and get that taken care of. So we'll get Cleo swimming. We got some keto cooking coming on. And we booked a campsite during Labor Day at Thousand Trails. You're going to want to tune in. I'm going to do a campsite review for you. And you don't need an RV. You can have a tent. Or you can rent a cabin. So that's what we got coming up for us. Other than that, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I love you. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.